In the heart of New York City, where skyscrapers kiss the clouds and ambition lights up every corner, there lived a man many considered untouchable, not just for his wealth, but for the brilliance that built it. His name was Nathan Hale, a 32-year-old architectural prodigy whose bold, futuristic designs redefined the skyline of Manhattan. Founder of Hale Design Studio, Nathan was the genius behind multi-million-dollar structures admired across the world. To the public, Nathan was a modern-day Midas. Every idea he touched turned to gold. He was elegant, razor-sharp, and driven by a relentless pursuit of perfection. But behind that composed genius lived a man who loved deeply, quietly, and with unwavering loyalty. That love was named Sophia Blair, a stunning fashion model turned brand director, known as much for her beauty as for her fierce presence in the world of luxury marketing. Together, they were the couple everyone envied, gracing magazine covers, red carpets, and black tie galas. Sophia's charm and Nathan's intellect made them a storybook romance in the public eye. But while the world worshipped their glamour, Nathan's heart yearned for something more, a quiet, sacred promise. He didn't just want to date Sophia or live beside her in glittering penthouses. He wanted to make her his wife, his forever. He had envisioned it all, a private beachfront villa in the Hamptons, a string quartet playing her favorite classical piece, and in his hand, a one-of-a-kind blue diamond ring, handpicked just for her. A moment of magic, one that would rewrite their destiny. What Nathan didn't know was that the perfect life he built was perched on a fragile edge, and the ring he chose with so much love would soon become the symbol of both a dream and a devastating fall. Nathan Hale had always been a man of vision, not just in architecture, but in life. And when it came to love, he wanted to design a moment that would stand forever. For weeks, he'd quietly planned the perfect proposal. No press, no champagne-soaked rooftop spectacles, just him, the woman he loved, and the ocean breathing quietly in the background. He had booked a secluded beachfront villa in the Hamptons, a place where the waves whispered like lullabies and the stars didn't have to compete with the city skyline. But the centerpiece of it all, the heart of his plan, was the ring. Not just any ring, a rare blue diamond set in a platinum band, chosen to reflect Sophia's calm strength and the winter hue of her eyes. He had spent days reviewing stones, settings, and designs until he found the one that felt just right. Elegant, quiet, and breathtaking. At Lachlan & Sons, the boutique was silent the moment Nathan stepped inside. The sales director personally attended to him, pulling out velvet trays with trembling hands. "This is the Azure Eclipse, Mr. Hale," he said, placing a solitary blue diamond ring under the glass dome. "There are only 2 stones of this clarity and color known in North America. The price isn't the point," Nathan interrupted gently. "She's the point." The man smiled, nodding silently. As Nathan exited the store, he held the ring box like a secret too precious for the world. He placed it carefully on the passenger seat of his Porsche Taycan and began the drive back toward the city. The sky was turning soft with dusk, casting golden streaks across the Long Island Expressway. Nathan glanced at the box, imagining her smile, the way she might cry when he knelt in the sand. But then, as he braked gently at a red light, the box slipped from the seat and tumbled to the floor. Without thinking, Nathan leaned forward, one hand still on the wheel, the other reaching for it. He didn't see the delivery truck, the screech of tires, a blast of metal, glass flying like shrapnel, and then silence. The sound was deafening. Metal crumpled like paper. Glass exploded across the dashboard. Nathan's body lurched forward with brutal force, only to be snapped back by the seatbelt. His head slammed against the side window as the airbag failed to deploy in time. The sharp sting of shattered windshield cut across his cheek, but he barely felt it. Everything happened in a blink. He never even saw the truck. His vision swirled in chaos. Headlights, a shattered mirror, the tiny blue box sliding beneath the pedals like a cruel joke. For a fleeting moment, as the car spun in place, time seemed to stop. In that instant, Nathan saw everything. Sophia's face lit by candlelight, her laughter in the rain, the beach, the string quartet, the blue diamond gleaming on her finger. A future he had built in his heart, now slipping through blood-stained fingers. Then, darkness. When he opened his eyes again, it wasn't light he saw, but the harsh white glow of hospital fluorescence. His body felt heavy, wrong. Tubes trailed from his arms. Machines beeped softly beside him. The pungent sting of antiseptic filled his nostrils as his foggy mind struggled to catch up. He tried to sit up. A sharp jolt of pain crushed his ribs. Then something worse, something colder. He couldn't feel his legs. Panic bloomed like wildfire. His trembling fingers clawed at the sheets, then moved downward, searching for something. Anything. He tried to shift. Nothing. No resistance. No weight. Just absence. His breathing turned shallow. Then the door creaked open. A middle-aged doctor entered quietly, clipboard in hand. He looked at Nathan with the kind of calm reserved for delivering hard truths. "Mr. Hale," he said gently, "you're very lucky to be alive. But I won't lie to you. The impact caused severe spinal trauma. We've stabilized your spine, but the odds of walking again..." He paused just long enough for Nathan to feel the blow before it landed. "Are extremely low. Nearly impossible." Nathan stared at the ceiling, unmoving. His mind screamed, but his body betrayed him. Then, almost as an afterthought, the doctor reached into his coat pocket and handed Nathan the slightly dented ring box. It still shimmered. Nathan held it in his trembling hand, barely breathing. Everything he had built, every plan, every dream, was gone. All that remained was a ring and a silence louder than death. 3 hours later, she walked in. Sophia, her designer heels tapped against the polished tile floor, echoing too loudly in the sterile quiet. She looked flawless, not a single strand of hair out of place, her face freshly made up, her perfume sharp and cold. Nathan's heart surged at the sight of her, even through the haze of pain and medication. "Sophia!" His voice was raw, rasping. She glanced up from her phone, offered a faint smile. "You're awake, thank God. The doctor said you made it through the worst." He reached out a trembling hand toward her, but she took a small step back, as if unsure how close she wanted to be. I missed you," he said, his throat aching with every word. Sophia's eyes didn't lift from her phone. "The office has been insane, Nathan. I've had to take over everything. Clients are freaking out. Contracts are hanging. You left a mess behind." Nathan blinked slowly, confusion cutting deeper than pain. "I almost died, Sophia." "I know," she said, finally looking at him. "And I'm glad you didn't. Really. But I need you to understand, I can't fall apart right now. I have to keep Hale's studio afloat." He swallowed hard. "Will you stay tonight? Just tonight?" She leaned in and kissed his forehead lightly, a gesture so empty it stung. "I can't. I've got an investor dinner." And just like that, she turned and walked out. Not a glance back, not a tear. Nathan lay there, frozen in disbelief, clutching a ring meant for forever, realizing, maybe for the first time, that the woman he loved had already left him long before the accident ever did. Days passed. The hospital room remained cold, quiet, and unfamiliar. Nathan stared out the window for hours at a time, watching snowflakes fall against the city skyline. The world still spinning, even as his had stopped. Sophia came and went, always brief, always preoccupied. Her visits felt like board meetings, updates on the company, a few polite questions about his condition, and then back to her world. She never sat beside him, never held his hand, but Nathan still clung to hope. One evening, under the harsh fluorescence of the hospital ceiling, he took a breath that hurt deep in his ribs and pulled out the velvet box from the drawer beside his bed. The blue diamond still glistened, untouched, unoffered. When Sophia arrived, he didn't wait. "Sophia," he whispered, forcing himself upright, even though every muscle screamed. "I need to ask you something." She barely looked up from her phone. "What is it?" Nathan opened the box slowly. "Will you marry me?" For the first time in days, her eyes widened. She stared at the ring in stunned silence, then reached for it, slipping it onto her finger. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "It's the Celeste Aurora, isn't it?" He smiled weakly. "Yes, I chose it for you. Always for you." She nodded, admiring the ring. But then he asked again softly, "So, will you be my wife?" Sophia hesitated, her expression faltering. "I mean, yes, I want to. I've always said I would." "Then let's get married," he said, the spark of hope flickering in his voice. "Next week." Her lips tightened. "Nathan, not now." His smile faded. "Because of the wheelchair?" "It's not just that," she said quickly. "But yes, partly. I don't want people talking. I'm not ready to walk down an aisle and pretend this is the fairy tale we planned. Not like this." He nodded slowly, the rejection sinking deeper than her words. "I understand." Sophia leaned down and kissed his forehead again, mechanical and cold. "I love you, Nathan." He responded softly. "I love you too." But the words felt thinner this time. The next morning, Sophia appeared in the doorway, holding a clipboard. "I found someone to take care of you." Nathan blinked. "You?" "No, her name is Ava Collins. She's a professional caregiver, young but qualified. She'll start tomorrow." He looked up, searching her face. "Couldn't it be you, just for now?" Sophia sighed, her tone impatient. "Nathan, I have an entire company to run. You're the founder. I'm just trying to keep your legacy alive. I can't be your nurse." "I understand," he said quietly. She kissed his forehead again, a goodbye more than a promise, then left, heels clicking down the hallway. And once again, Nathan was alone, surrounded by white walls, tangled wires, and a ring meant for a woman who was already too far gone. The next morning, the door creaked open. She was small, maybe in her early 20s, with long dark hair tied back and eyes that flickered with a quiet calm. A white dress under a thin cardigan, a single bag in hand. "Mr. Hale?" she asked softly. "I'm Ava Collins. Miss Blair arranged for me to care for you." Nathan barely looked at her. "I don't need help," he said sharply. "And I especially don't need a stranger paid to feel sorry for me." Ava paused but didn't flinch. "I'm not here to pity you." "Oh, of course not," Nathan scoffed. "You're just here out of the goodness of your heart, right? Let me guess. You're fresh out of some discount nursing course, ready to babysit the broken billionaire." Her eyes narrowed slightly, but her voice stayed calm. "I signed a 6-month contract. I'll do my job whether you like me or not. Me or..." Nathan turned his face toward the window. "Just leave me alone. Close the door on your way out." Ava didn't say another word. She just walked in quietly, set down her bag, and began adjusting the machines. She wasn't going anywhere. The first few days with Ava were a slow-burning war. Nathan barely acknowledged her presence. When he did, it was with sharp remarks or icy silence. His anger wasn't just about her. It was about everything. His broken body, Sophia's absence, the future that had slipped through his fingers like sand. Ava simply became the closest target. "You must be really desperate," he said one morning without looking up from his tray, "cleaning bedpans for a man who can't even stand. Bet this isn't how you imagine your life." She calmly wiped down the table. I chose this job, Mr. Hale. I'm here because I want to be. He smirked bitterly. Everyone wants something. Ava said nothing. She tucked the blanket around his legs, careful not to touch too much. She knew his silence was louder than anything he could say. But Nathan didn't stop there. By the 5th day, he hatched a plan to expose her. To prove somehow that she was just like the rest, opportunistic, fake, temporary. While Ava was outside watering the small potted plant by the window, he reached into his bedside drawer and pulled out a thick stack of hundreds. He tossed them onto the floor near his closet, then called out, "Ava, my room's a mess. Clean it properly. I don't want to see a speck of dust." "On it," she replied, her tone as steady as always. As she swept the room, her eyes landed on the money. She froze, just for a second, and Nathan, peeking from the bathroom mirror, watched with bated breath. But Ava didn't touch it. Instead, she slipped it into a small envelope and placed it gently on his nightstand. When he returned, she handed him the envelope. "I think you dropped this." Nathan's jaw clenched. "So you're pretending you didn't see it?" "No," she said quietly. "I saw it, and I saw through it." He turned red with frustration. "Why are you still here? You know I don't want you. You're wasting your time." Ava stepped closer, her voice low and calm. "You can insult me, Mr. Hale. You can try to push me away, but I didn't come here for your approval." She paused, her gaze unwavering. "I came because you needed someone, even if you don't know it yet." Nathan stared at her, breath tight in his chest. For a moment, just a brief flicker, something inside him cracked. That night, as he lay awake staring at the ceiling, the silence felt different. Less empty, less cold. Ava hadn't run. She hadn't cried. She hadn't flinched. And for the first time in weeks, Nathan began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she was nothing like the others. The days blended into each other like a slow gray fog. Nathan rarely spoke unless he had to. Ava remained calm, patient, moving through his care routine with quiet diligence, never pushing too hard, never stepping too far. She learned his rhythms, the way he clenched his jaw before a spasm, the tiny flinch in his eyes when she touched his back too suddenly, and the way he always turned his face away when someone mentioned Sophia. He still clung to her, silently, stubbornly, hopelessly. One evening, as Ava stepped into the hallway to take a call from her uncle, a second call suddenly lit up her phone screen. Sophia Blair. Ava froze. Hesitating only a moment, she swiped to answer. "Ava," Sophia said, her voice cold and sharp. "We need to be clear about something." "Yes, Miss Blair?" "I don't care how long Nathan takes to recover. In fact, I'd prefer it if he didn't. His name is on the company, but I'm the one steering it now. The longer he's out of the picture, the easier that becomes." Ava's grip on the phone tightened. "I'm sorry, what are you saying?" Sophia gave a dry laugh. "Oh, don't act surprised. I hired you to keep him comfortable, not to give him hope. I don't need him walking again. I need him quiet, safe, out of my way." "I thought you loved him," Ava whispered. "Love," Sophia scoffed. "Love doesn't secure board seats, sweetheart. You think I got where I am because I cried over a man in a wheelchair?" A silence crackled on the line. Ava's stomach twisted. "Here's the deal," Sophia continued. "I'll double your pay. You stop pushing him. No more therapy, no more encouragement. Just keep him where he is, broken and dependent. You do that, and I make sure you never struggle a day in your life." The line went dead. Ava stood frozen in the hallway, her heart pounding. For a moment, the world tilted on its axis. The mask Sophia wore, polished, poised, perfect, had cracked to reveal something far darker underneath. And Nathan? He had no idea. Back in the room, he was waiting. He looked up when Ava re-entered, his eyes carrying a flicker of life she hadn't seen in days. "Was that Sophia?" he asked, trying to sound casual, but the hope in his voice betrayed him. Ava forced a small smile. Yes, she just wanted to check on your progress. She asked about me? Ava hesitated, then nodded. She said to keep going, that she's proud of you. Nathan exhaled, visibly relieved. He looked down at his legs, then back at Ava. Help me train tomorrow? Ava placed her hand on his shoulder. Of course, Mr. Hale. But inside, her chest ached with the weight of the lie. Maybe she thought he needed hope more than he needed truth. For now. The next morning, Nathan woke earlier than usual. The sky outside was still pale, tinged with soft gold. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel the crushing weight in his chest. He looked over and saw Ava already moving about the room, preparing his schedule, warming a damp towel for his back. You're up early, she said, smiling gently. I want to train, he replied, his voice low but certain. Let's start today. Ava blinked, surprised by the sudden determination, but said nothing. She only nodded and wheeled his chair over to the practice bars set up by the window. And so it began. Each day, Nathan pushed himself. At first, his legs refused to listen, trembling, weak, almost useless. But Ava never let him fall. When his grip failed, she caught him. When sweat poured down his face, she wiped it away. When his anger boiled over, she absorbed it with a calm he didn't understand. You don't have to stay, he muttered one afternoon after falling hard to the floor. I know, Ava said, kneeling beside him, but I choose to. Those words echoed in his chest like a whisper against stone. Soon their conversations grew longer. Small talk turned into laughter. Cold silence gave way to warm glances. They began sharing meals, then stories, then pain. One night after a particularly grueling session, Nathan collapsed into the armchair by the fireplace. Ava handed him a glass of water and sat across from him. You know, he said softly, I don't remember the last time someone stayed this long without needing something. Ava looked at him, her gaze steady. Not everyone's trying to take. Some people just care. He didn't speak. Instead, he leaned forward, just slightly, and pressed a kiss to her forehead. It was brief, uncertain, but full of something neither of them could name. Ava blinked in surprise. Was that a thank you? Nathan said quickly, his cheeks flushing. A very special one. That night, neither of them slept easily. The air between them had shifted, fragile, unspoken, and utterly real. From that moment on, something began to bloom. Not fast, not loud, but slowly, like spring after a long and brutal winter. Nathan no longer trained just to walk. He trained because Ava believed he could. Weeks passed, and day by day, step by shaky step, Nathan reclaimed what he had lost. Not just his strength, but his will. With Ava beside him, he pushed beyond every limit. He fell, he rose, he fell again. But each time, Ava was there to catch him. She cheered the smallest victories like they were miracles. And then, one morning, it happened. Nathan took a step, on his own. No bar, no brace, no wheelchair, just him. Ava burst into tears, throwing her arms around him before he could collapse again. You did it, Nathan! You did it! He smiled, not just with pride, but with a purpose that had been building silently for weeks. I need to see her, he said. Ava's smile faded. Sophia? He nodded. I need her to see me walk. Ava hesitated but didn't argue. She simply helped him pack. 2 days later, they boarded a private flight to Miami, where Sophia was attending a luxury brand conference. The villa was perched on a cliffside, modern and lavish, with sweeping glass walls that reflected the sun like crystal. Nathan stood at the front door, his hands trembling. Ava, he whispered, how do I look? She swallowed hard. Like a man any woman would be proud of. He gave her a grateful smile, then stepped inside. The sight hit him like a punch to the chest. Sophia was laughing, not politely but intimately, curled up on another man's lap, a glass of champagne in hand. She wore the ring he had given her like an accessory, not a promise. "Sophia?" Nathan's voice broke. She turned, startled, then quickly stood. "Nathan, this isn't what it looks like." He stared at her in silence, his breath shaking. "No," he said finally, "because from where I'm standing, and yes, I'm standing, it looks exactly like betrayal." The man fled the room. Sophia reached for Nathan's arm, but he stepped back. "I waited. I bled. I broke myself into pieces for you," he whispered. "And this is what I came back to. Nathan, please, just let me explain. There's nothing left to explain." He took her hand gently, almost lovingly, and removed the celeste aurora from her finger. "I gave you this when I thought love meant something to you," he said, "but you don't deserve it." Then right in front of her, he let the ring fall. It clattered to the marble floor like a final sentence. "I'm done." He turned and walked out, his steps slow but steady. Behind him, Sophia collapsed to her knees, sobbing, not from heartbreak, but from losing control. For once, the game wasn't hers to win. Outside, Ava was waiting, eyes wide, heart in her throat. Nathan didn't say a word. He simply reached for her hand, resting his forehead against her shoulder. "I did it," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I finally let go." Ava held him close, her hand trembling against his back. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. In that moment, Nathan Hale, the man who once had everything, then lost it all, took back the one thing that mattered most: his freedom. The flight home was quiet. Nathan didn't speak much. He sat by the window, his eyes distant, his reflection in the glass looking older somehow. Not in years, but in weight. Ava stayed beside him, silent unless he asked something, respectful of the silence he needed. But in her chest, a storm raged. He had faced the final blow. He had walked into betrayal with open arms and left with broken pride. And still, he stood. And now it was her turn to face a truth she had kept hidden. As they arrived back at the Manhattan estate, the afternoon sun cast a soft amber glow through the tall windows. Nathan moved slowly but steadily, refusing help. He dropped onto the sofa with a long sigh, rubbing his eyes with the heel of his hand. Ava knelt beside him, her fingers trembling. "Nathan, there's something I need to tell you." He looked at her, surprised by the emotion in her voice. "What is it?" She swallowed hard. "Back when you couldn't walk, Sophia called me, more than once." Nathan's brow furrowed. "She told me not to help you recover. She said she didn't want you to walk again. That if you stayed broken, she could keep control of everything." The words hung heavy in the air. Ava's voice cracked. "She offered me money to stop encouraging you, to stop pushing you, and I didn't tell you because I knew it would break you more than your body already had. I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm so sorry I lied." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she added, "I was afraid you'd hate me, afraid you'd lose hope. But mostly, I was afraid of losing you." Nathan sat still, his jaw tight, his eyes unreadable. For a long moment, he said nothing, not a breath, not a blink. Ava's heart raced. Was this the end? But then slowly, he reached for her hand. "I knew," he said softly. Ava's eyes widened. "You did?" "Not everything," he murmured, "but something felt off. Sophia vanished, and you stayed. That told me everything I needed." He brought her hand to his lips, kissed it gently. "You didn't betray me. You saved me, even when I didn't want saving." She blinked fast, the tears now falling freely. "I'm just a caregiver," she whispered. "No," he said firmly, cupping her face in his hands. You're the only person who walked into the wreckage and stayed when everyone else ran." His voice trembled, but his gaze was steady. "Ava Collins, I don't love you because you helped me walk again. I love you because you helped me feel human again." Her breath hitched. "Nathan." He pulled her into his arms, holding her like something precious, not fragile but irreplaceable. And in that quiet embrace, no words were needed. The ache, the betrayal, the months of pain, all of it began to fade. Because finally Nathan Hale was no longer a man healing from love lost. He was a man stepping into love that had found him. 1 month later, the Hale estate no longer felt like a prison. The sterile silence that once haunted its hallways had been replaced by the gentle hum of music, the soft laughter of two people slowly stitching their lives together. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows like it belonged there, warming the hardwood floors where cold shadows used to linger. Ava had planted wild daisies in the garden, her favorite. Nathan insisted on watering them himself, not because he loved gardening, but because every step he took on his own feet still felt like a miracle. He wasn't fully recovered. His legs still trembled at times. Pain still visited when he pushed too hard. But each step was steadier than the last. And Ava, she was always there, not as a caregiver anymore, but as a partner, a friend, and something deeper. One morning, as they walked slowly through the garden, Nathan stopped beside the flowers. "I never told you," he said, "why I bought this house." Ava smiled. "Why?" "Because I thought building something beautiful would make me feel less alone." He paused. "But it wasn't the house that did that." He turned toward her, took her hands gently. "It was you." Later that week, Nathan made his first appearance back at Hale Design Studio. But he didn't come alone. He walked in slowly but confidently, with Ava at his side. The room fell silent. Whispers echoed. But Nathan didn't flinch. He looked to his staff, and then to Ava. "This," he said clearly, "is Ava Collins. She's the reason I'm here today. I expect you to show her the same respect you've always given me." No one questioned him. No one dared. That night under the garden lights, Nathan led Ava to the center of the path between the daisies. The stars above shimmered like old friends. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was clear. "Ava Collins," he whispered, lowering himself to one knee. "I once thought love meant designer gowns and candlelit galas. But you showed me it means quiet breakfasts, shared pain, and someone who stays when no one else does. You helped me stand, heal, and believe again. Let me spend the rest of my life walking beside you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Ava's eyes, her voice shaking. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They kissed under the night sky, not in grand spectacle, but in quiet certainty. And for the first time, Nathan Hale wasn't the broken man who had once lost everything. He was simply a man, deeply loved, fully alive, and finally home.